Hello, I'm Sheena Douglass and I'm going to show you how to create this card now. It's a technique I really love with Distess Inks, but most importantly for me anyway, it's using my brand new French 50s Cafe stamp set, and I just think it really works really well. So all of the elements you're looking at on this card was created from that particular set, and if you're wondering what the set looks like, this is it right here. So as you can see, it's all of the images, loads and loads of images there. They're all been hand drawn by myself so that they're going to all mix and match, and you can make as many different compositions and scenes as you want. And you see I've coloured it in a completely different way than the project we're going to make now, so you can see how diverse that can be as well. Okay, let's get started. Right, so to begin with, I've got a piece of Centura Pearl card. This is a really good heavyweight 300 GSM card, and it's actually sold for the pretty pearl background, as you can see on this side. But the bit I'm excited as a stamper, and you all should be if you're stampers, is this the side that hasn't been coated. The reason is it's really hard to find a nice smooth white card that hasn't been messed with. This is perfect for Distess Inks, as you're going to see. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've got a selection of Distess Inks. Maybe start with some chipped sapphire. And this is one of those things that's going to look really horrible before it starts to look better. So you have been warned. I'm actually using some cut and dry foam, and it's been well used, this cut and dry foam. My cut and dry foam gets washed in the washer at 40 degrees. No fabric softener, doesn't need it, but it washes, I would say, if you know, at least 3 or 4 times, I think, before eventually it'll start to split. The dense rubber comes away from the soft rubber, but at that point, you know, you've had your money's worth out of it. And I still just love my cut and dry foam. And you can see, look, this is the important thing, blocks of colour, nothing fancy schmancy. You're not doing impressionist painting style, you're putting on big bold blocks of the colour you're using. I'm now moving on to some aged mahogany. Oh, you know what, my aged mahogany looks a little bit on the dry side. Right, so you can see now what's actually happened is the back of my aged mahogany was also dry. So we're now using Dusty Concord. Not a problem, because I do usually use Dusty Concord for this technique, but I thought I'd mix it up. But as you can see, what you're going to end up with, once the card begins to get saturated, you'll feel that the ink just slides across the surface. There's not much resistance, and that's how you know you're not going to get any more ink on there. But don't worry, you're not using as much of your Distess Ink as you'd actually think, because it's sitting on the surface of the card. That's why the right kind of card without a high chalk content is essential. And if you've tried this kind of technique before and it hasn't worked for you, try it again with Centura Pearl. You'll be amazed at the difference. Now, that's kind of what we're going to stop with. It looks just like a very pretty colourful bruise right now, but that doesn't matter, that's all good. It's colourful, but it's got no light and shade. So this is the next stage, is to start stamping. And as you can see, I've used it on my non-stick craft sheet. This is really important. If you use your cut and dry foam outside the area against some card, I just want to show you quickly what's going to happen. If you put card behind, for example, and I've seen people do this, and they're going around the edges, look at where the ink's going onto the card. Your card ends up absolutely saturated with ink. Well, you just want a nice vignette cut look around here. That's all your money gone there down the drain. So get yourself a non-stick craft mat. If you haven't got one yet, it's about time. Alright, so now we'll put it that way up. Next thing is we're going to go to the images from the set. As you can see, the large images, I've got them on the largest rocker block. Now just remember, this table I'm stamping on is one of the worst stamping tables in Christendom. And I actually usually have a board that I stamp on. And that was a clue for Russell now to go and find that said board, but not looking good. Alright then, fingers crossed. I'm going to try stamping this, but if it doesn't come out perfectly, we could be here for quite some time. Not bad, that's alright, because what I'm doing is I'm working on a plastic top table, and even though it looks solid, it's not. Get yourself something like even a huge gigantic tile or a piece of MDF, anything like that, to stamp onto to make the base solid. Right, so that's the little cafe, the house. Let's stamp the little bistro set about there. That'll work. There's even a little thing here, this is the part of the curbing actually, and cobbles, so we'll pop that in there. And as you can see, there's going to be some trimming needed on this, but I'm not bothered. That's what I wanted. I wanted to make it bigger always start off bigger than how I want to end up, because then that allows me to balance and trim and allow for any kind of misalignments if it's a little bit wonky, anything like that. And then finally, let's put this tree. Now, if your rocker blocks are clean, this is a much easier task. As you can see, I don't think this rocker block's been clean for quite some time. But then again, it's obviously well used. So as you can see now, we've got a nice little composition. I'll turn that around for you to see. Hopefully you can pick that up. But what I want to do is I'm going to put a moon here. I haven't got a moon stamp, not a problem. I can use anything really. Let's use a Wow embossing powder lid. Pop that there. I'm just going to use a pencil to draw around because I'd like the moon to kind of be shining through this tree. So just draw around with pencil. Just as long as you can see it, doesn't matter what it is. There you go. That's where the moon's going to go. Right, now the fun bit begins. You need at hand some clean kitchen paper. This is essential. You need a good brush. These brushes are, as you can see, you keep seeing them time and time again. This is the brushes, the only brushes I use. My Paint Fusion set. It's the number round 6 brush. It's absolutely perfect for this. And what I'm going to do first of all is use a lot of water and a little bit of agitation. This is important. You don't want it the other way around. A lot of the time when we're stamping with the Distess ink and we're blending the line, it's almost a dry brush and you're just nudging the colour out. With this, you really got to be bold and put as much water on as you can control within that area, because the quicker you get this ink lifted, the less chance there is of you pulling up the surface of the card. And again, this is where the card is absolutely essential. You can be there, you can be there for hours trying to lighten this if it's the card has got chalk in it, because what would have happened is it's grabbed the ink, it's fixed it, and with all the will in the world, it's not going to lighten and release the colour. So you know why it's not happening now in future. And the good thing is about Centura Pearl is it's cheap as chips. If it was marketed as stamping card, you'd be paying a lot more. So you can see we've got the moon in there. Already it's looking a lot better. Think about where the moonlight's going to hit. It's going to hit the roof. So we're going to trim, we're going to put that there. The reason I said trim is I was just thinking about trimming it. I'm going to do all of this before I trim it down to size, because at the minute it's too big to fit on a square card. But I'd rather do that when everything else is done, like I said, because then I can correct any spacing problems and things I've got. So already that's looking better. You've got some light and shade into it. And if you want to go over it again, remember plenty of water, not a lot of agitation of the paper. Always using a clean piece of paper when you blot. Pop some on there. You know, of all the techniques I do when I do the television shows, this is the one that always gets the best response. If it can impress the gallery, the people that shout in the presenter's ears, then you're onto a good thing. You know, you've done well if they go a little bit quiet. So what I'm doing here is I'm just putting a little bit on where the leaves are again, because I want this highlighted. Not take much really. I'm hoping that's enough just now to blot. Yep, lovely. All of a sudden now it's got some light and shade. We're going to lighten this bottle because it's glass. It's going to be reflecting a lot of the light, as is the little glass that's next to it. Easy peasy. Let's lighten the top of the table as well, because the moonlight's more than likely going to be, if that's a shiny surface, it's going to be reflecting on there. Job's a good one. The canopy, definitely going to be light on the top. I'm going to leave the side, the left hand side, because that's kind of going to be in shadow, but I'm actually going to just highlight the front as well a little bit. That's going to catch a little bit of the light. And it's also making things look solid. It's giving it kind of depth and much more interesting, I think, once you start to do this. See how quick and easy it is? Really this is. And remember how rubbish that looked. It's starting to look good now, but it really did look pretty horrible for a bit there when it was just all you know, blocks of colour on the card. So if you think you're doing it wrong, you're not. Just stick with it. It'll all come out and all be good in the end. Let's lighten the cobbles. Just remember that might be a little bit wet and a little bit rainy. You can even add a few more in there for interest if you want. Just put a little bit of an impression of a few more there. And then let's maybe even just highlight them on the pavement around here. Gives it a bit more interest. Right, I think I'm gonna leave the highlight bit at that stage now. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it. So I'm going to just carry on with that, and then we'll meet up again once it's trimmed.